okay, guys, so like we're gonna hang out at the mall, and then we're gonna fight some zombies, and then like I totally got to get the high score on the arcade machine because it was the Night of the Comet, you know? And because this is the most 80s fucking film we've watched in a really long time, we decided to bring in who I consider the god of bringing back 80s cinema, Jason J-Tro Trost, whose new film FP2 Beats of Rage is gonna be available very, very soon. So before we even talk about this movie, J-Tro, when can the wide public see FP2? Because I've seen it and it's great, and I want more people to see it.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to release it in May. It's all hypothetical at this point because I'm doing everything myself, but it's looking very good that it's going to be May. It should be streaming and downloadable and Blu-rayable and all that.
Do you need money? Do you need our people to give you money, or?
No, I just need them to buy the movie when it comes out.
It's good enough. I certainly will.
Please don't torrent it. Just watch it for free on Amazon Prime, so at least then I see like 6 cents when you watch it.
I will do that.
Holy shit, is that really what the ROI is?
Yeah, I think it's until you get up to like 100,000 minutes stream, then it's 10 cents an hour.
Jesus Christ. You know, I thought that we were doing the right thing by watching things on Amazon Prime, but fuck that shit.
It's very unfortunate.
Well, it's better than torrenting it.
Well, yeah, but that's not saying much anymore.
It's very unfortunate you can't put movies on repeat on Amazon Prime, because every time one of my friends is on Spotify, even if I don't like their music, I put their playlist on repeat and then turn the volume all the way down while I sleep. So their songs.
Does that work?
Yeah, they get a very, very small
fraction. They stopped making that work.
Oh, well, then I hope not, because I'm draining my data. For sake of them.
Aren't you on Wi-Fi when you're home, you psychopath?
My Wi-Fi sucks, dude.
All right.
Well, my neighbor's Wi-Fi sucks. No,
so what's really cool, actually, about watching Night of the Comet is that this actually has a little bit, like FP2 has a little bit of that post-apocalyptic vibe that Night of the Comet kind of implies the beginnings of, which is something I forgot about because I haven't watched this movie in years.
Oh yeah, I could see this movie being a prequel to FP2, like 100 years before or something.
Yeah, this is like it could be the prequel to FP1. They're obsessed with video games.
Yeah, gotta find DMK.
So is Beats of Rage a prequel to the FP, or is it an actual sequel?
No, it's very much a sequel.
Yeah, it's a super sequel, dude.
Dang.
It's fucking gnarly.
I'm so upset that you've seen it and I haven't. So, Jason, I just want to get this out of the way. So, when Matt and I first started podcasting together, he was like, you got to watch this movie. It's so wild. It's called the FP. This was what, like 6 years ago that you were telling?
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah,
it was when it was still on Netflix.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I was like, I don't know, man. It doesn't really look like my thing. I don't know why I said that, but I think I was just like putting it off. And I watched it, and I think I messaged him halfway through, and I was like, dude, what is this? This is it's such an us movie.
It's definitely a love letter to people who love 80s films. And you can listen to in the back catalog, I've talked to Jay prior at Fantastic Fest, but you basically said what I'd always felt was separating the FP from everything else, is that it's not like in your face that it's 80s. It just has an 80s feel throughout the whole time. Like it's not Kung Fury, which is just beating you in the face like how 80s it is.
No, that those sort of things drive me nuts because I like it to be like this is a lost movie that was made in the 80s. You just never saw it. Not like, hey, check out my Reeboks. Look at my this. Look at my that.
Yeah.
Like, you get like the super like tight shot on some sort of member berries thing. And I'm like, no, that's not what this is about.
So one last thing before we actually get into the movie. So, and I'm sorry if you get this question a lot, but what do you think that Turbo Kid is acceptably charming in that way where it doesn't feel like it's...
I turned it off half an hour in because I felt like they were winking too much at the camera, but the main reason for me is they're bad acting on purpose in that movie. And I know some people are cool with that, but that drives me nuts. Because the whole thing with these old movies that we grew up on was that we found them endearing because people weren't trying to be shitty on purpose. They were trying as hard as they could. They just weren't talented. And that's why with the FP and the FP2, what I try to do is set up an impossible situation, an impossible scene to take seriously, and then make good actors attempt to actually act it for real. And it still that's the comedy. is that this is an impossible scene to do, but they're trying their best.
You sound like absolutely Satan incarnate.
Yeah, I find that funny. So that's pretty much the humor of these movies.
Good.
The movie starts off, we're talking about Night of the Comet from 1984, a movie that I first heard of through the Podfather John London told me to check it out.
Of course.
And man, it just kicks off with that opening narration that just makes you so ready for everything that this movie is going to be.
Yeah.
Although the implication seems to be that the dinosaurs also became zombies at one point, which is a movie that I'm waiting to see, is the Dinosaur movie. But
it's shocking that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, we got to get on that. But the first 30 minutes of this movie could literally just be like a Fast Times at Ridgemont High movie, and that's why I really am charmed by it, is that it's just like an 80s teen flick for 90% of this film.
Yeah, like the first act is oddly competent. I was surprised. I was like, hey, this is not bad. This is pretty cool. And then when it starts getting wild after that, you're like, okay, there it is. Yeah, it's like, what's wrong? This movie's fun. Oh, I see.
So I think that the thing that I like about this movie is that it's so barely a horror flick. The zombies are there, but it doesn't matter. The zombies are almost non-entities in this. And because this is basically like Dawn of the Dead, if Dawn of the Dead was rewatchable, because Dawn of the Dead is so hard to rewatch. Like the Romero 1976 or whatever it is. That movie is just not fun.
I love talking about that movie more than watching it. I love my first viewing of that when I was younger. Every time I try to go back, it feels like homework. I really appreciate it. I think it's really good. But yeah, you're right. It's hard to sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to crack a beer and really have a great time right now. It's not really
I don't think you can do that with any Romero film, but especially Dawn of the Dead. But that's the thing about this movie is that all the shit that I can't stand about zombie flicks, because this is barely a zombie flick. I mean, there are zombies, but it's
Zombie Kid, man.
Yeah. The zombie parts are thankfully short. The evil humans are not super annoying. The stuck in a bunker parts are not. They don't overstay their welcome. Nothing about this movie is painful.
The bunker people, you brought that up. Did Lost rip that off for the Dharma Initiative? Because they're wearing the same jumpsuits. They have the same stupid patch with the symbol on their arm. That was interesting. I was like, wait, I've seen this before. It's the people in the hatch.
Somebody
in the Lost.
J.J. Abrams on the phone.
Seriously, it's really close. It's just aesthetically everything. I was like, what the fuck?
I love the first couple minutes of this movie where you're just seeing the relationship between Reg and her sort of boyfriend, the projectionist, who's just renting out films to people through the back door. He has the line about this is it came from outer space. It's in 3D. Film freaks will go down on you for this, and you offer me $100, 110. Now you're speaking my language. He's just such a douche. I love him.
This is a great movie. It's probably the best movie I've picked, and I
You're welcome.
I actually put it on just on a regular Saturday. I was bored, and I put it on, and I was like, all right, this is an interesting normal horror movie. And then when she does the karate shit in the back alley, I stopped the movie, added it to Trello, and waited until now to finish it.
My favorite part about that interaction when she does her karate back there is she throws the keys away for no apparent reason. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, if she knows how to fight, and most women, they're taught, you put the keys in your hand. No, not her. Throws them behind her. She does the kung fu, and then it's like, oh, where are the keys? And then she's struggling to find the keys, and that trips her up. So it's like, why'd you throw? For some reason, the entire movie, that throwing the key incident was the weirdest thing.
She knows the bitten binder method.
It was so funny.
There's just such good the dialogue in this movie has got some good lines.
It's insane.
The little sister has that one line where she's talking to her mom and she says, "You were born with an asshole. You don't need to date Jack."
Yeah, and then the mom punches her in the face.
Dude, what an awful punch, though. That punch was terribly staged. The slaps were real, though.
Those are some serious slaps in this movie.
So I was reading that they had so little money to make this movie. It was made for I think $70,000 or $700,000.
$3 million. I looked it up.
Yeah,
which is $7 million today. Not that little.
But they, the director was basically like, "We can only do 1 or 2 takes, so make them count. If things don't work properly, just riff." And that's where we got probably my favorite line was that the gun jammed for real, and the actress improv the line, "Daddy would have gotten us Uzis," which is like such a good line.
But it is an Uzi. That's what made me laugh. Like she's holding an Uzi in her hand when she says that. Yeah, this movie made $15 million. I was looking it up back then, which now with inflation is almost $40 million. Like this was a success.
Yeah,
this isn't like that's some obscure little movie. Like this makes more than some flops these days.
But how is this movie forgotten? You know, like this
that's
is
the
not
good question.
Well,
yeah,
I'm surprised I'd never heard of it.
I think it's very of its time, though. Like it's not like because a lot of the movies that last the test of time, like you can sit someone that was born 18 years ago in front of it and they would love it. I feel like you have to love the 80s to love this movie.
But it doesn't look like it. Like it says the year that it comes out, but I'm not a stickler for it, so I don't really pay attention. So I put on, based on the cover on Amazon and the name, I put it on because I was like, oh sweet, like a nice like 50s sci-fi movie. And that's how it really looks. Like if you just came across this movie, it looks like a 50s or 60s like sci-fi cheesy movie, and that's why I put it on. And then immediately I was like, oh, when did this come out? 1984. Okay, all right, that's what we're in for.
I also like the very geeky conversation about Superman that takes up like 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Which it reminds me of my favorite line in Elvira when she's basically just like,
he's got radioactive blood.
Yeah, it's lead, you nerd. And I'm like, you're the one that's waxing knowledge on Superman with this guy. But yeah.
I mean, it's funny because like that's the kind of scene I always hoped would be in a Kevin Smith movie, but his are like 20 minutes long and they try to do that. And this scene, I thought this movie just kicked his ass with that all over the place. Where it's like, all right, here's the one-liner for it. We don't need 8 minutes.
But even that line, like if you think about that line, you know, that's lead, you nerd, like is also part of the plot line. Like being behind lead protects people. Like it's like there's not a wasted line of dialogue with how goofy the movie is. Like everything fits into its place, and that's crazy to me that like this works as well as it does, because it should be like just trash from front to back.
Yeah, the tone is oddly consistent throughout the entire movie, which I really appreciated.
And I love the dope low budget comet effects when everyone's just staring at the sky and it's basically just like a strobe light.
Yeah,
like
that's great. I love the people just as dust, like clothes with dust everywhere. That was great. And then like some of them, like they're like, oh well, some of them, you know, became zombies because it just took slower. So you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And I guess like when you turn into a zombie, you just like get stupid.
I think that's what makes it so fun of a zombie movie, because the biggest fear factor in zombie movies, they don't really move fast until the early 2000s. So it's really just like, no matter what you do, the world is filled with zombies. And your whole life is a struggle to try to avoid zombies. And this is like, you got to ride this out for about 5 hours. Some of them aren't quite dust yet. And it's like, okay, let me stand up and watch this movie. And then when I leave, I can repopulate. That is the whole base of this movie. You're just weathering a storm.
Yeah,
it's pretty clever. And also I do like the fact that this movie was I did just the slightest bit of internet research, and the writer wanted to do a female fronted and apocalyptic film, and that was what they did. They basically just took badass characters that were men in movies that they liked and made them women, and it's just awesome.
And it has that, you brought up Dawn of the Dead, but it also has that same type of like comments about consumerism, and it's more on the nose in this than it is on Dawn of the Dead, but it's way more charming than it ever is in Dawn of the Dead. Like,
yeah, that's the thing about
shopping
Romero,
to girls
that
that want to have fun is so, like, that scene is so great. Like, that's not
here's the thing about that. So that's why I started looking things up, because I was like, this doesn't sound like the Cyndi Lauper version. It's not. It's a woman named Tammy Holbrook. So I don't understand. If this movie was not low budget, I mean, apparently it wasn't. Jason just said it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the internet said, so who knows?
No, I believe you. I'm not calling your bluff or anything. I'm just so confused because they had money for all of these songs. Like, this has a banging soundtrack, but they don't have money to pay for fucking Girls Just Want to Have Fun?
Well, man, those songs can cost like $500,000. Just that song.
I was gonna say, she was working on the Goonies right now.
Yeah.
Oh shit, you're right. I guess the Goonies came out in '85, right?
Yeah, so she was probably
She
she
was
was like,
doing
"Now I'm
Goonies
holding
are
out
good."
for the Goonies."
Yeah,
Right.
damn. Okay, I guess I can accept that. But I did have. I know that we're not really following notes. Like most of my notes are just quotes. Or I was going to try and sing the funny parts of songs, but I can't remember that.
I mean, you texted me the one
The
line in
best
the
scene,
movie.
yeah, that's the best line in the movie. What you sent in the group.
I'm not crazy. I just don't give a
Okay,
fuck.
so did you guys do the research to see what song that's in? It gets sampled in something, and I cannot
I
for the
think
life of
an
me remember.
Eminem song.
It was a pop punk
No,
song.
I'm just kidding.
No, I have no clue. But I love the like pseudo zombie stock boys because they don't look like zombies at all until they take off their sunglasses.
Oh, that was
And they have
great.
no
That
eyes.
was such a good like Omega Man moment.
Dude, I even like the weird zombie cop nightmare sequence.
The double nightmare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was great.
yeah. Oh, so here's a question about that. If this movie is so much about strong female protagonists, why do we have Kelli Maroni taking her clothes off for no fucking reason?
One question, one answer here. Reshoots. I guarantee you, they tested that movie and they're like, we need some more TNA, and they reshot those at least one of those zombie nightmares. There might have been one. They probably added the other one. There's no way that was originally there. I'm convinced.
Yeah.
I saw that scene. I was like, no way.
That makes absolute sense. I'm not complaining because Kelli Maroni is way more attractive. She's just more attractive than I realized because she plays. The only thing I've ever actually seen her that I remember her in is Chopping Mall, and she plays the good girl
she's in
Chopping
Fast
Mall.
Times.
Yeah, she's in Fast Time as the cheerleader.
Oh my God, that's Kelli Maroni.
Yeah.
That's so fucking great.
You think it's easy being a cheerleader?
Yeah, Kelli Maroni was actually
It's not.
in Fast Times at Ridgemont High with Eric
Oh, here it
Stoltz, who was in Hercules Zero to Hero with French Stewart. I did that just to piss off Scott. That's not my 6 degrees to Beetlejuice. You're waiting.
Oh, fuck you.
I'm actually pretty close to the end of my notes because the only part that I don't like about this movie is like once the scientists come in, it really kind of hits a wall for me because you're like you've already established like, oh, they're just waiting out the zombie apocalypse. Like the tension drops a lot.
Oh, totally.
But I do like the idea that Reg is just gonna force a family lifestyle to like start the new world on like positive morals, and the big intro of DMK.
What a terrible callback! What an unnecessary callback! Because
But so perfect for this movie.
yeah, so I didn't even really remember it until it. Honestly, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. Until
I was
J-Tro.
waiting. I was waiting for that one, man.
Yeah, when you made the DMK reference about the FP2 or whatever, I was like, oh yeah, that was the person who was in the video game in the very beginning. Like, I didn't even fucking remember because I didn't care.
No, it's just it's the writer and me being like, okay, when does that come back? We spent way too much time looking at that and talking about that. Who's DMK? Is it the truck driver? No, it's just some random guy in a convertible car. Great.
The people that survived this apocalypse, it's just so weird. It's so weird, the people that survived. But at least it makes sense. There's like an excuse.
Yeah, you had to be inside.
I'm worried about the kids. I don't like the implication there.
They're just their children now.
Yeah, that's real fucked up. I mean, it's not the most fucked up thing I've
Would,
seen.
would you rather them be there with those parents or like living with Santa Claus for the rest of their lives?
I don't know, because there are a lot of logical issues that come into play if you are trying to repopulate the Earth with 6 people.
Well, now DMK's in there to help.
I think they would find more. It's like it's been like a weekend. They already found another guy. I'm sure some other people just were inside the night of the comet because that's all it took to not turn is just be indoors. So
and the
sure
scientists say that they heard reports of other people in other cities. Yeah. So it's not like it's just the 6 of them.
But they're going to be all neck beards that are going to be...
No, Scott, me and you would absolutely be there to repopulate. If I told you that there was a comet coming tonight, you'd be like, nah, I'm good here.
So the other thing that I actually really like is I think the fake out of her having a rash genuinely works. Because I was watching, I'm like, I can't remember. Does she turn into a zombie? Like, it's a good, like, gets you...
Yeah.
It plays into your knowledge of zombie movies to be like, oh, fuck. She's going to turn. And then it's just, no, nerves. She has eyes.
I totally believed it. I was like, oh, I guess she's dead. I guess they need a body count. That's how these movies work. Sure.
Yeah.
This movie has a really low body count. I mean, if you ignore the,
all of civilization.
Yeah. But I'm saying actual characters. I mean, it's just, I like that about that. This is kind of like a more entertaining, rewatchable Mad Max.
I could see that because Mad Max doesn't really start until the Road Warrior, as far as I'm concerned.
The first movie is almost unwatchable. I remember I went back and I tried to watch it again for the first time as an adult, like before Fury Road came out, because I was going to watch all of them again to get my head in it. And I was like, "Good God, what is that? Like, it doesn't like is it? I'm not even sure it's a post-apocalypse movie." Which is bizarre.
it's just a car movie.
It's just weird.
It's just a car movie.
It's a great car movie.
Fast and Furious.
That thing in there is not the goose. That's the only thing I remember from Mad Max.
Yeah, I remember Scream Factory sent me the Blu-ray when it came out, and I was like, "Oh man, sweet! I haven't seen Mad Max in forever." And then as I'm watching, I'm like, "I was thinking the Road Warrior. The whole time."
Did you get the English dub?
It could have been worse. It could have been Thunderdome.
Because I think it's so funny that they have an English dub version than their original, which is just Australian. Which, in case anyone isn't too keen on Australian language, it's English, just with a different accent.
Boy, is it.
So I got nothing. Does anyone else have anything they want to throw out there about Night of the Comet beyond like, hey, if you haven't seen it, go see it. Like, it's a good movie that you probably slept on.
It's free. Give them the 6 cents, man.
Yeah.
Most movies on the show are like watch with a group of friends or whatever. You can absolutely watch it alone. You absolutely could.
Oh, I mean, I watched it this morning alone. It was great.
Yeah, it's a fun watch.
So I do have one thing that I want to say. I love the soundtrack. As anybody who listens to the show knows, I'm obsessed with horror movie soundtracks. I love this soundtrack. It's not. I don't really love the instrumentals as much as the actual like pop music. And that Hard Act to Follow is one of the best '80s songs no one knows about.
I don't even remember it.
That was on. Wasn't that?
It's a cold fact. You're a hard act to follow.
And that was on that '80s hair metal mix that someone sent us for Halloween this year.
Oh shit! I never actually listened to it, but thank you for that list, whoever that was.
So what was your guys' double features with this? Brian, as is customary, you get to pick first as you selected this.
So I would probably, this is a tough one. Night of the Comet. I'm at Blockbuster. I see this cover. I'm gonna go with. I didn't put much thought in this. If you guys haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, I'm picking that up. Picking up what you're putting.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Twilight Zone movie.
Any reason, or just that you think it would be out at that same time?
So if I'm speaking candid, I was like, shit, think of something. I just watched this documentary that Jordan Peele did. For some reason, Jordan Peele's on my mind. He's remaking Twilight Zone. There's stars in the cover, and I was like, Twilight Zone movie.
Okay, fair enough. My double feature would be something that I think captures a similar level of this super 80s nostalgia. And I think I've picked it a couple times, but I'll pick it again. TerraVision. I think TerraVision is a very good double feature to go with the Night of the Comet.
Is TerraVision a good movie? I thought it was a bad movie.
It's a great movie, dude.
It's a delightful movie.
Wow.
I think I picked it literally like 2 months ago for Bad Channels as well.
Cartoons is a bad movie.
Yeah. Oh, God. You are so lucky you were not involved with this podcast when we did fucking Terror Tunes.
All right, Scott, what was your double feature?
So I'm going to be the cheekiest motherfucker ever by saying Night of the Creeps, due to the fact that they are both NOTC.
And J-Tro, I saved you for last, hoping that you'd be able to pick up what we're putting down on how to do these double features. You have a double feature to watch with Night of the Comet.
Oh, God, mine's not as ironic. I was just going to say Omega Man just because it's the 70s New York version of this movie.
I think that's perfect. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be ironic.
No. I'm just an asshole like that.
Yeah. Just because they virtually have the same bad guys with the sunglasses and the whole it's the same deal. It's just different part of the country.
Is the Omega Man the best adaptation of I Am Legend?
There is no such thing as a good adaptation.
I was about to say there hasn't really been a good one, but is it the one that I will watch the most again? Absolutely. The Vincent Price one from way back when is
Last
a little
minute.
bit. Yeah, it's a little bit closer to the book, but not really at all. And the Will Smith one's just garbage. Like at least Omega Man's got that fun like 70s Charlton Heston and.
I think All I can ever remember about the movie Omega Man is Jonathan London used to always quote one line in there where he looks at the vial of blood and goes, "Good old-fashioned 100% Anglo-Saxon," as he's looking at his own blood in a vial.
That's what I'm saying. You got to watch it again. It's worth it.
All right. Well, before we wrap up the episode, real quick, once again, J-Tro, where can people go to find out where we are in the process of getting FP2 into our hands? Is there a website or anything that they can check out?
Check out my Facebook fan page, which is at the J-Tro on Facebook. And yeah, that's where everything happens. That's where I channel everything. That actually is like 90% responsible for getting FP2 funded and everything else that's happened at this point. So I was going to do more, but it's very successful, that page. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Cool. Go there.
Yeah, I think it's a good philosophy. And will we get an FP3?
I mean, yeah, I'm writing 3 and 4 right now, so we'll see what happens.
Oh man!
Oh man!
Oh my god!
I've kind of been going through an existential crisis where I'm like, do I make more movies or do I just keep making FP movies? And I think the answer is because there were a lot of roadblocks getting 2 made, which no longer exist. So I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I can just keep making these now. Okay, sounds good.
And I mean, it's not like they're a burden to you. You seem to have a blast of making them. Like
that's the problem. They're more fun than anything else I come up with. Like I'll come up with other ideas and like kind of start them up, and then I'm still daydreaming about the FP. So I'm like, all right, screw it, going back.
Well, I will be there for 3 and 4 and 5, and when it eventually goes into space, and when it ends up in the
you're not gonna have to wait until 5 for space.
Oh, dude, stop talking. Take my money.
Yeah,
you won't have to wait that long.
All right. Well,
I have to go to Beetlejuice. Catherine Mary Stewart,
that's right.
Mischief, Kelly Preston, Jack Frost, and Michael Keaton. Also, everyone, check out this director who did Night of the Comet, because this, amongst all of his movies, are completely underrated, such as Ernest Saves Christmas, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, and Captain Ron. All just heavy hitter movies that have shit ratings online. And
wait, Captain Ron has a bad rating?
23%, Scott. 23%.
Fucking what?
The internet
No,
sucks,
that's not surprising. When's the last time you saw a movie with 90-something on Rotten Tomatoes you actually liked?
Yeah.
That's fair point.
But that's the thing is that I don't even look at Rotten Tomatoes, so I'm shocked at anybody's rating on Rotten. What's the FP on Rotten Tomatoes? It better be 90.
No, it's like 40-something. Which is pretty surprising. But the thing is, when you look at Rotten Tomatoes, the whole thing's rigged because a critic can give a movie a C+ rating, and that's a rotten review. And then that same critic can go give another movie a C, and that's positive. It depends on which one has more money.
Yeah.
It's a racket.
Yeah, it's a total racket.
Well, who was the one critic that gave Gremlins a shitty fucking review, and then because he was
Leonard Maltin?
Yeah.
Leonard Maltin.
And just because
he appeared in the second one,
gave it a great review. He was in it.
Yep.
Leonard Maltin, what a piece of trash that guy is. That was Night of the Comet from 1984. We were joined by our good friend J-Tro. Go and check out the FP2 Beats of Rage as soon as you can. And in the meantime, go ahead and rate, review, and subscribe to the show on all of your different podcasting apps. Hit us up at hmnpodcast.com. And next week is the start of Listener Submitted Month, and you guys were a bunch of assholes. So we're gonna do a vampire movie. That's all I'm gonna say. No hints.
I guess it's a vampire.
I don't know what the fuck this is. You gave us a lot of curveballs, guys. So we'll see how this goes. But once again, J-Tro, thanks for joining us, and we will be back next week.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.